Yes, I cut my hair. Welcome back to Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the Grimoire with 2 M's. Let's turn the page together. I haven't even opened the book, and I don't know what the stories for this week are, so let's find out together real fast. Where did we leave off? Frederick and Catherine, right. Alright, this week, today we've got the 2 brothers, then the little peasant, then the queen bee, then the 3 feathers, and then the golden goose. It's gonna be a good week, you guys. So let's get started. Without further ado, the 2 brothers. There was once upon a time 2 brothers, with the one rich and the other poor. The rich one was a goldsmith and evil-hearted. The poor one supported himself by making brooms and was good and honorable. The poor one had 2 children who were twin brothers and is like each other's 2 drops of water. The 2 boys went backwards and forwards to the rich house and often got some of the scraps to eat. It happened once when the poor man was going into the forest to fetch brushwood that he saw a bird which was quite golden and more beautiful than any he had ever chanced to meet with. He picked up a small stone, threw it at him, and was lucky enough to hit him, but only one golden feather fell down, and the bird flew away. The man took the feather and carried it to his brother, who looked at it and said, "It's pure gold," and gave him a great deal of money for it. Next day the man climbed into a birch tree and was about to cut off a couple of branches when the same bird flew out. When the man searched, he found a nest, and an egg lay inside it, which was of gold. He took the egg home with him, carried it to his brother, who again said, "It is pure gold," and gave him what it was worth. At last the goldsmith said, "I should indeed like to have the bird itself." The poor man went into the forest for the 3rd time, and again saw the golden bird sitting on the tree, so he took a stone and knocked it down and carried it to his brother, who gave him a great heap of gold for it. "Now I can get on," thought he, and went contentedly home. The goldsmith was crafty and cunning, and knew very well what kind of a bird it was. He called his wife and said, "Roast me the gold bird, and take care that none is lost. I have a fancy to eat it all myself." The bird, however, was no common one, but of so wondrous a kind, whoever ate its heart and liver found every morning a piece of gold beneath his pillow. The woman made the bird ready, put it on the spit, and let it roast. Now it happened that while it was on the fire, the woman was forced to go out to the kitchen on account of some other work. The 2 children of the poor broom maker ran in, stood by the spit, and turned it round once or twice. And at that very moment 2 little bits of the bird fell down into the dripping tray, and one of the boys said, "We will eat these 2 little bits. I am so hungry, and no one will ever miss them." Then the 2 ate the pieces, but the woman came into the kitchen and saw that they were eating something, and "What have you been eating?" "2 little morsels which fell out of the bird," answered they. "That must have been the heart and the liver," said the woman, quite frightened, and saw that her husband might not miss them and be angry. She quickly found and killed a young rooster, took out his heart and liver, and put them beside the golden bird. When it was ready, she carried it to the goldsmith, who consumed it all alone and left none of it. Next morning, however, when he felt beneath his pillow and expected to bring out the piece of gold, no more gold pieces were there than there had always been. The 2 children did not know what a piece of good fortune had fallen to their lot. Next morning when they arose, something fell rattling to the ground, and when they picked it up, there were 2 gold pieces. They took them to their father, who was astonished, and said, "How can that have happened?" When next morning they again found 2, and so on daily, he went to his brother and told him the strange story. The goldsmith at once knew how it had come to pass, and that the children had eaten the heart and liver of the golden bird, and in order to avenge himself, and because he was envious and hard-hearted, he said to the father, "Your children are in league with the evil one. Do not take the gold, and do not suffer them to stay any longer in your house, for he has them in his power, and may ruin you likewise." The father feared the evil one, and painful as it was to him, he nevertheless led the twins forth into the forest, and with a sad heart left them there. Now the 2 children ran about the forest, and sought the way home again, and could not find it, and only lost themselves more and more. At length they met a hunter, who asked, "To whom do you children belong?" "We are the poor broom maker's boys," they replied, and they told him that their father would not keep them any longer in the house, because a piece of gold lay every morning under their pillows. "Come," said the hunter, "that is not so very bad, if at the same time you keep honest and are not idle, as the good man liked the children and had none of his own." He took them home with him and said, "I will be your father and bring you up till you are big." They learned huntership from him. The piece of gold with each of them, found when he awoke, was kept for them by him in case they should need it in the future. When they were grown up, their foster father one day took them into the forest with him and said, "Today you shall make your trial shot, so that I may release you from your apprenticeship and make you hunters." They went with him to lie in wait and stayed there a long time, but no game appeared. The hunter, however, looked above him and saw a covey of wild geese flying in the form of a triangle and said to one of them, "Shoot me down, one from each corner." He did it, and thus accomplished his trial shot. Soon after, another covey came flying by in the form of the figure 2, and the hunter bade the other also bring one from each corner, and his trial shot was likewise successful. "Now," said the foster father, "I pronounce you out of your apprenticeship. You are skilled hunters." Thereupon the 2 brothers went forth together into the forest, and took counsel with each other and planned something. And in the evening, when they had sat down to supper, they said to their foster father, "We will not touch food or take one mouthful until you have granted us a request." Said he, "What then is your request?" They replied, "We have now finished learning, and we must prove ourselves in the world. So allow us to go away and travel." Then spoke the old man joyfully, "You talk like brave hunters. That which you desire has been my wish. Go forth, all will go well with you." Thereupon they ate and drank joyously together. When the appointed day came, their foster father presented each of them with a good gun and a dog, and let each of them take as many saved gold pieces as he chose. Then he accompanied them a part of the way, and when taking leave, he gave them a bright knife and said, if ever you separate, take this knife into a tree. Stick this knife into a tree at the place where you part, and when one of you goes back, you will be able to see how his absent brother is faring. For the side of the knife, which is turned in the direction that he went, will rust if he dies, but will remain bright as long as he is alive. The 2 brothers went still onwards, and came to a forest which was so large that it was impossible for them to get out of it in one day. So they passed the night in it, and ate what they had put in their hunting pouches. But they walked all the second day likewise, and still did not get out. As they had nothing to eat, one of them said, "We must shoot something for ourselves, or we shall suffer from hunger," and loaded his gun and looked about him. And when an old hare came running up towards them, he laid his gun on his shoulder, but the hare cried, "Dear hunters, do but let me live. 2 little ones to you I'll give," and sprang instantly into the thicket, and brought 2 young ones. But the little creatures played so merrily and were so pretty that the hunters could not find it in their hearts to kill them. They therefore kept them with them, but the little hares followed on foot. Soon after this, a fox crept past. They were just going to shoot it, but the fox cried, "Dear hunters, do but let me live. 2 little ones I'll also give." He too brought 2 little foxes, but the hunters did not like to kill them either, and gave them to the hares for company, and they followed behind. But it was not long before a wolf strode out of the thicket. The hunters made ready to shoot them, but the wolf cried, "Dear hunters, do but let me live. 2 little ones I'll likewise give." The hunters put the 2 wolves beside the other animals, and they followed behind. Then a bear came, wanted to trot about a little longer, and cried, "Dear hunters, do but let me live. 2 little ones I too will give." The 2 young bears were added to the others, and there were already 8 of them. At length who came? A lion, and tossed his mane. But the hunters did not let themselves be frightened, and aimed at him likewise. But the lion also said, "Dear hunters, do but let me live. 2 little ones I too will give." And he brought his little ones to them. And now the hunters had 2 lions, 2 bears, 2 wolves, 2 foxes, and 2 hares, who followed them and served them. In the meantime their hunger was not appeased by this, and they said to the foxes, "Listen, cunning fellows, provide us with something to eat. You are crafty and deep." They replied, "Not far from here lives a village, from which we have already brought many a fowl. We will show you the way there." So they went into the village, bought themselves something to eat, and had some food given to their beasts, and then traveled onwards. The foxes, however, knew their way very well about the district and where the hen houses were, and were able to guide the hunters. Now they traveled about for a while, but could find no suitable place where they could remain together. So they said, "If there is nothing else to do, we must part." So they divided the animals, so that each of them had a lion, a bear, a wolf, a fox, and a hare. Then they took leave of each other, promised to love each other like brothers till their death, and stuck the knife which their foster father had given them into a tree, after which one went east and the other went west. The younger, however, arrived with his beasts in a town which was all hung with black crape. He went into an inn and asked the host if he could accommodate his animals. The innkeeper gave him a stable where there was a hole in the wall, and the hare crept out and fetched himself the head of a cabbage, and the fox fetched himself a hen. When he had devoured that, got the rooster as well. But the wolf, the bear, and the lion could not get out because they were too big, and then the innkeeper let them be taken to a place where a cow was just then lying on the grass, that they might eat till they were satisfied. And when the hunter had taken care of his animals, he asked the innkeeper why the town was thus hung with black crape. Said the host, because our king's only daughter is to die tomorrow. The hunter inquired if she was sick unto death. No, answered the host, she is vigorous and healthy. Nevertheless, she must die. How is that? Asked the hunter. There is a hill high outside the town where dwells a dragon who every year must have a pure virgin, or he will destroy the whole country, and now all the maidens have already been given to him, and there was no longer anyone left but the king's daughter. Yet till there is no mercy for her, she must be given up to him, and that is to be done tomorrow. Said the hunter, why is the dragon not killed? Ah, replied the host, so many knights have tried it, but it has cost all of them their lives. The king has promised that he who conquers the dragon shall have his daughter as wife, and shall likewise govern the kingdom after his own death. The hunter said nothing more to this, but next morning took his animals, and with them ascended the dragon's hill. A little church stood at the top of it, and on the altar 3 full cups were standing with the inscription, whoever empties the cups will become the strongest man on earth, and will be able to wield the sword which is buried before the threshold of the door. The hunter did not drink, and went out and sought for the sword in the ground, but was unable to move it from its place. Then he went in and emptied the cups, and now he was strong enough to take up the sword, and his hand could quite easily wield it. When the hour came when the maiden was to be delivered over to the dragon, the king, the marshal, and courtiers accompanied her. From afar she saw the hunter on the dragon's hill, and thought it was the dragon standing there waiting for her, and did not want to go up to him. But at last, because otherwise the whole town would have been destroyed, she was forced to go the miserable journey. The king and courtiers returned home full of grief. The king's marshal, however, was to remain and see all from a distance. When the king's daughter got to the top of the hill, it was not the dragon which stood there, but the young hunter, who comforted her, and said he would save her, and led her into the church, and locked her in. It was not long before the 7-headed dragon came there with loud roaring. When he perceived the hunter, he was astonished, and said, what business have you here on the hill? The hunter said, I want to fight with you. Said the dragon, many knights have left their lives here. I shall soon have made an end of you two, and he breathed fire out of his 7 jaws. The fire was to have lighted the dry grass, and the hunter was to have been suffocated in the heat and smoke. But the animals came running up and trampled out the fire. Then the dragon rushed up on the hunter, but he swung the sword until it sang through the air, and struck off 3 of his heads. Then the dragon grew right furious, and rose up in the air, and spat out flames of fire over the hunter, was about to plunge down on him, but the hunter once more drew out his sword, and again cut off 3 of his heads. The monster became faint, and sank down. Nevertheless, it was just able to rush upon the hunter, but with his last strength he slashed its tail off. As he could fight no longer, called up his animals, who tore it to pieces. When the struggle was over, the hunter unlocked the church, found the king's daughter lying on the floor, and as she had lost her senses with anguish and terror during the contest, he carried her out. When she came to herself once more and opened her eyes, he showed her the dragon all cut to pieces, and told her that she was now safe. She rejoiced and said, now you will be my dearest husband, for my father has promised me whoever kills the dragon. Thereupon she took off her necklace of coral and divided it amongst the animals in order to reward them, and the lion received the golden clasp. Her pocket handkerchief, which bore her name, she gave to the hunter, who went and cut the tongues out of the dragon's 7 heads, and wrapped them in the handkerchiefs and preserved them carefully. That done, as he was so faint and weary with the fire and the battle, he said to the maiden, we are both faint and weary. We will sleep a while. Then she said, yes, and they lay down on the ground, and the hunter said to the lion, you shall keep watch, that no one surprises us in our sleep. And they both fell asleep. The lion lay down beside them to watch, but he also was so weary with the fight that he called to the bear and said, "Lie down near me. I must sleep a little. If anything comes, wake me." Then the bear lay down beside him, but he was also tired, and called the wolf and said, "Lie down by me. I must sleep a little, but if anything comes, wake me." Then the wolf lay down beside him, but he was tired likewise, and called the fox and said, "Lay down by me. I must sleep a little. If anything comes, wake me." Then the fox lay down beside him, but he too was weary, and called the hare and said, "Lie down by me. I must sleep a little, and if anything should come, wake me." Then the hare sat down by him, but the poor hare was tired too, and had no one whom he could call there to keep watch, and fell asleep. And now the king's daughter, the hunter, the lion, the bear, the wolf, the fox, and the hare were all sleeping a sound sleep. The marshal, however, who was to look on from a distance, took courage that he did not see the dragon flying away with the maiden, and finding that all the hill had become quiet, ascended it. There lay the dragon, hacked and hewn to pieces on the ground, and not far from it were the king's daughter and a hunter with his animals, and all of them were sunk in a sound sleep. And as he was wicked, and he took his sword, cut off the hunter's head, and seized the maiden in his arms, and carried her down the hill. Then she awoke and was terrified, but the marshal said, "You are in my hands, and you shall say that it was I who killed the dragon." "I cannot do that," she replied, "for it was a hunter with his animals who did it." Then he drew his sword and threatened to kill her if she did not obey him, and so compelled her that she promised it. Then he took her to the king, who did not know how to contain himself for joy that he once more saw his dear child alive, whom he had believed to have been torn to pieces by the monster. The marshal said to him, "I have killed the dragon, and delivered the maiden and the whole kingdom as well. Therefore I demand her as my wife, as was promised." The king said to the maiden, "Is what he says true?" "Ah, yes," she answered, "it must indeed be true. But I will not consent to have the wedding celebrated until a year and a day has gone by." For she thought in that time she should hear something of her dear hunter. The animals, however, were still lying asleep, sleeping beside their dead master on the dragon's hill, and there came a great bumblebee that alighted on the hare's nose, but the hare wiped it off with his paw and went on sleeping. The bumblebee came a second time, but the hare again rubbed it off and slept on. Then it came the third time and stung his nose, so that he awoke. As soon as the hare was awake, he roused the fox, and the fox the wolf, and the wolf the bear, the lion. When the lion awoke and saw that the maiden was gone and his master was dead, he began to roar frightfully and cried, "Who has done that? Bear, why did you not wake me?" The bear asked the wolf, "Why did you not wake me?" And the wolf said, the fox, "Why did you not wake me? Why did you not wake me?" And the fox the hare, "Why did you not wake me?" And the poor hare alone did not know what answer to make, and the blame rested with him. And then they were just going to fall upon him, but he entreated them and said, "Don't kill me. I will bring our master to life again. I know a mountain on which a root grows which then when placed in the mouth of anyone, cures him of all illness and every wound. But the mountain lies 200 miles from here." The lion said, "You have 24 hours to run there and come back, and bring the root with you." Then the hare sprang away, and in 24 hours he was back, and brought the root with him. The lion put the hunter's head on again, and the hare placed the root in his mouth, and immediately everything united together again, and his heart beat, and life came back. Then the hunter awoke and was alarmed when he did not see the maiden, and thought, "She must have gone away while I was sleeping, in order to get rid of me." The lion in his great haste had put his master's head on the wrong way round, but the hunter did not observe it, because of his melancholy thoughts about the king's daughter. But at noon, when he was going to eat something, he saw that his head was turned backwards, and he could not understand it, and asked the animals what had happened to him in his sleep. Then the lion told him that they too had all fallen asleep from weariness, and on awaking they had found him dead with his head cut off, that the hare had brought the life-giving root, that he, in his haste, had laid the head on the wrong way, but that he could repair his mistake. Then he tore the hunter's head off again, turned it around, and the hare healed it with the root. The hunter, however, was sad at heart and traveled about the world and made his animals dance before people. It came to pass that precisely at the end of 1 year he came back to the same town where he delivered the king's daughter from the dragon, and this time the town was gaily hung with red cloth. Then he said to the host, "What does this mean? Last year the town was all hung with black crape. What does the red cloth today?" The host answered, "Last year our king's daughter has to have been delivered over to the dragon, but the marshal fought with it and killed it, and so tomorrow their wedding is to be solemnized, and that is why the town was then hung with black crape for mourning, and is today covered with red cloth for joy." Next day, when the wedding was to take place, the hunter said at midday to the innkeeper, "Do you believe, sir host, that while with you are here today, I shall eat bread from the king's own table?" "Nay," said the host, "I would bet 100 pieces of gold that will not come true." The hunter accepted the wager, and set against it in a purse with just the same number of gold pieces. Then he called the hare and said, "Go, my dear runner, and fetch me some of the bread with which the king is eating." Now the little hare was the lowest of the animals, and could not transfer this order to any of the others, but had to go on foot himself. "Alas," thought he, "if I bound through the streets thus alone, the butcher's dogs will all be after me." It happened as he expected. The dogs came after him and wanted to make holes in his good skin, but he sprang away. Have you never seen one running?" and sheltered himself in a sentry box, without the soldier being aware of it. But then the dogs came and wanted to have him out, but the soldier did not let them pass, and struck them with the butt end of his gun, till they ran away, yelling and howling. As soon as the hare saw that the way was clear, he ran into the palace, and straight to the king's daughter, and sat down under her chair and scratched at her foot. Then she said, "Will you get away?" and thought it was her dog. The hare scratched her foot for the second time, and she again said, "Will you get away?" and thought it was her dog. But the hare did not let itself be turned from its purpose, and scratched her the third time. Then she peeped down and knew the hare by her necklace. She took him on her lap, and carried him into her chamber, and said, "Dear hare, what do you want?" He answered, "My master, who killed the dragon, is here, and has sent me to ask for a loaf of bread, like that which the king eats." Then she was full of joy, and had the baker summoned, and ordered him to bring a loaf such as that eaten by the king. The little hare said, "But the baker must likewise carry it there for me, that the butcher's dogs may do no harm to me." The baker carried it for him as far as the door of the inn, and then the hare got on his hind legs, and took the loaf in his front paws, and carried it to his master. Then said the hunter, "See, sir host, the 100 pieces of gold are mine." And the host was astonished, but the hunter went on to say, "Yes, sir host, I have the bread, but now I will likewise have some of the king's roast meat." The host said, "I should indeed like to see that," but he would make no more wagers. The hunter called the fox and said, "My little fox, go and fetch me some roast meat, such as the king eats." The red fox knew the byways better, and went by holes and corners without any dog seeing him, and seated himself under the chair of the king's daughter, and scratched her foot. Then she looked down and recognized the fox by its necklace, and took him into her chamber with her, and said, "Dear fox, what do you want?" He answered, "My master who killed the dragon is here, and has sent me. I am to ask for some roast meat, such as the king is eating." Then she made the cook come, who was obliged to prepare a roast, and the same as was eaten by the king, and to carry it for the fox as far as the door. Then the fox took the dish, with his tail waved away all the flies which had settled on the meat, and then carried it to his master. "Look, sir host," said the hunter, "bread and meat are here, but now I will also have proper vegetables with it, such as those eaten by the king." Then he called the wolf and said, "Dear wolf, go there and fetch me vegetables, such as the king eats." Then the wolf went straight to the palace, and as he feared no one, and when he got to the king's daughter's chamber, he twitched at the back of her dress, so that she was forced to look round. She recognized him by his necklace, and took him into her chamber with her, and said, "Dear wolf, what do you want?" He answered, "My master who killed the dragon is here, and I am to ask for some vegetables, such as the king eats." Then she made the cook come, and he had to make ready a dish of vegetables, such as the king ate, and had to carry it for the wolf as far as the door. Then the wolf took the dish from him, and carried it to his master. "See, sir host," said the hunter, "now I have bread and meat and vegetables, but I will also have some pastry to eat like that which the king eats." He called the bear and said, "Dear bear, you are fond of licking anything sweet. Go and bring me some confectionery such as the king eats." Then the bear trotted to the palace. Where'd he go? And everyone got out of his way, but when he went to the guard, they presented their muskets and would not let him go into the royal palace. But he got up on his hind legs and gave them a few boxes on the ears, right and left with his paws, so that the whole watch broke up. And then he went straight to the king's daughter, placed himself behind her, and growled a little. Then she looked behind her, knew the bear, and bade him go with her into her room with her and said, "Dear bear, what do you want?" And he answered, "My master who killed the king is here, and I am to ask for some confectionery such as the king eats." Then she summoned her confectioner, who had to bake confectionery such as the king ate, and carried it to the door for the bear. Then the bear first licked up the sugar drips, which had rolled down. Then he stood upright, took the dish, and carried it to his master. "Behold, sir host," said the hunter, "now I have bread, meat, vegetables, and confectionery, but I will drink wine also, such as the king drinks." And he called his lion to him and said, "Dear lion, you yourself like to drink till you are intoxicated." Where'd it go? Yes. "Go and fetch me some wine, such as that which is drunk by the king." Then the lion strode through the streets, but the people fled from him, and when he came to the watch, they wanted to bar the way against him. But he did but roar once, and they all ran away. Then the lion went to the royal apartment and knocked at the door with his tail. Then the king's daughter came forth and was almost afraid of the lion, but she knew him by the golden clasp of her necklace, and bade him go with her into the chamber, and said, "Dear lion, what will you have?" He answered, "My master who killed the dragon is here, and I am to ask for some wine as the king drinks." Then she bade the cupbearer to be called, who was to give the lion some wine like that which was drunk by the king. Then the lion said, "I will go with him and see that I get the right wine." Then he went down with the cupbearer, and when they were below, the cupbearer wanted to draw him some of the common wine which was drunk by the king's servants, but the lion said, "Stop, I will taste the wine first." Then he drew half a measure and swallowed it down at one gulp, and "No," said he, "that is not right." The cupbearer glared at him and went on. Was about to give him some of another barrel which was for the king's marshal. The lion said, "Stop, let me taste the wine first," and drew half a measure and drank it. "That is better, but still not right," said he. Then the cupbearer grew angry and said, "How can a stupid animal like you understand wine?" But the lion gave him a blow behind the ears and made him fall down by no means gently. When he got up again, he conducted the lion quite silently into a separate little cellar where the king's wine lay, from which no one ever drank. The lion first drew half a measure, tried the wine, and then he said, "That may possibly be the right sort," and bade the cupbearer fill 6 bottles of it. And now they went upstairs, but when the lion came out of the cellar into the open air, he reeled here and there and was rather drunk. And the cupbearer was forced to carry the wine as far as the door for him. And then the lion took the handle of the basket in his mouth and took it to his master. And the hunter said, "Look, sir host, here have I bread, meat, vegetables, confectionery, and wine, such as the king has. And now I will dine with my animals." And he sat down and ate and drank, and allowed the hare, the fox, the wolf, the bear, and the lion also to eat and to drink, and was joyful, for he saw that the king's daughter still loved him. But when he had finished his dinner, he said, "Sir host, and now have I eaten and drunk, as the king eats and drinks. And now I will go to the king's court and marry the king's daughter." Yeah. Okay, before things get terribly more interesting, there's like 4 more pages of the story. This is the longest story in this book that we've read together, and it's been great. However, it's already going to be a long video. I'm feeling it. You know, you're vibing. So, we're going to cut this into 2 parts, and I'm going to, let's see, how long is tomorrow's story? Not too long. So I might do, yeah, I'm going to cut it here before, yeah. Alright, impressions thus far, because I will definitely give analysis tomorrow. First off, I love that in the beginning it was like, and he reached under his pillow, but there were no more golden coins than there already were before, and I'm like, how many? Does he sleep on gold coins all the time? And then it was like, have you never seen a hare run? Like, this story was all over the place, and I loved it, and it was hilarious, and then and it was like, they were about to eat the hare, but he's like, but wait, I know this mountain, and this root, that like, and then they put the head on backwards. I also liked that, you know, brothers, it was important to them, so they made it important, and they made it a point. I didn't like the uncle in the beginning. Definitely didn't necessarily like the dad in the beginning either for kicking his sons out, but, you know, he gets scared, so Guess it makes sense. The foster dad! Can we just, like, clap? He was beautiful. He was, like, perfect. Also, what happened to the dog? Like it said, he gave them each a dog, but then they never mentioned the dog again. It's just the hare, the fox, the wolf, the bear, and the lion. Never mention the dog again. Never. Ever. But the foster dad, yeah, I'm not entirely certain what my analysis is. I like this story this far. Let's see. I really like the princess. How she's like, okay. Still, because she's like terrified, absolutely terrified of this guy. You know, he killed her dude, then was gonna kill her, which wouldn't have ended good for him. Like if, oh, I fought the dragon, but like your princess is dead from obviously sword marks. Sorry, can I still have the kingdom? No, that's not how that works, honey. You vibe, you know? But like, she's like, give me a year. Giving her time to be like, am I gonna be in love with this guy, or am I gonna, like, hate his guts, or like, am I gonna find out about my dear hunter boy? Like, you know, you vibe, you stand. I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow. Like, I would have kept going, but I'm like, there's 4 more pages. And I'm already reading fast. But I know this video's already. So, tomorrow we might just do 1. We just finish this boy up, give a real nice analysis. Or we might do finish that one up and read the next one. Guess we'll figure that out tomorrow. Either way, thank you for joining us for another happily ever after. Or actually, no, it was a to be continued. Sorry, to be continued. Either way, this is the end for this episode. Sorry. So, tune in later and we can learn more and turn a new page. Get